let's go. It's day 52. We're making very good time. Maybe. Who knows? The Silver Seal was a geik imported from the Ottoman Empire. We loaded up and strapped ourselves in for the launch. Adventure fog expected back shortly. Yes, indeed. We're almost at London. As long as something bad doesn't happen. The ocean tore along beneath us. I enjoyed talking to no one. There was nothing I needed to know. No one to charm, flatter, or beguile into giving us aid. There was only the wind and the time. And we could control neither. Passepartout, our master demanded. Make us go faster, if you would. I approached the captain. Faster, you say? It can be done, but it would destroy the engine. You want no risk, no danger. Then I promise you, we will be in London in 2 more days. Probably okay. We're not that pressed for time. Let's groom Fogg a little bit. It's going to be presentable. Monsieur Fogg looked out of the observation deck windows with perfect calm, and there was no reason to be concerned. We were safely within our 80-day window. I couldn't wait to stride into the Reform Club and claim our prize. I spent the remaining time ironing, which is a great solace to an uneasy soul. Walking like a true ballet, I suppose. We tethered at the airship dock in Hyde Park and felt, for the first time in 54 days, the feel of English soil under our shoes. At long last, we had returned to London, and in plenty of time to win the wager. Yeah, we shaved off 30 days by going across the North Pole. Return. I seized my master by the collar and threw him into one of the steam carriages idling on the banks of the Serpentine in Hyde Park. There is no need for such unseemly haste, Passepartout, my master noted, but I was a man possessed. The carriage barely shuddered to a steam-hissing stop before I dragged my master from his seat and up the steps to the imposing doors of the Reform Club. I released him only when we reached the great saloon, where my master's erstwhile friends stood from their chairs, gaping in an attitude of great shock. Monsieur Fogg only straightened a little and said, in his calm voice, "Gentlemen, here I am." The room erupted into cheers. Where had the crowds come from? Had they followed us inside from the street? I had scarcely noted them, I realized, as though a spell had suddenly broken, that we had succeeded. And, despite a most unconventional route, my master had won £20,000. With the 4,000 we began with, the debt built up from banks along the way, and our remaining funds, it was a profit of over 14,000. Hardly a meagre sum. My heart began to beat again, and I saw for the first time the crowds who had forced their way into the club to witness the momentous occasion. A journalist in dark blue bonnet, in a dark blue bonnet, caught my eye. "And you must be the loyal valet, Passepartout," she said. "I do not believe we have been introduced," I remarked. "All of London have been feverishly following Phileas Fogg's progress in the papers." She swept her gaze over me and scribbled furiously in her notebook. "Your master will be tomorrow's headline, or I'll eat my hat." "And no eating the hat. What did the hat ever do to you?" "I'm quite overwhelmed," I admitted. "I am not surprised," she agreed. You should sit down." I pushed my way through to Monsieur Fogg, who had nearly been swallowed by congratulatory crowds. "You have won the bet, monsieur," I told them. And seized my master by the hand and shook it, as though we were two equals, and not merely a master and servant. Monsieur Fogg pressed my hand warmly, and did not remark even once upon the impropriety of my gesture. Indeed, through his cool gaze, did not so much as waver or soften. I believe he welcomed the chance to shake my hand. Any gentleman would be fortunate to call you his valet, and you have been a worthy companion to me, besides, Monsieur Fogg said, and I knew that, from him, there could be no higher praise. Mr. Fogg, the blue-bonneted journalist cried, interrupting our conversation. What's next for the great adventurer Phileas Fogg, and his loyal valet Passepartout? My master looked at me. I laughed like a maniac. Perhaps we should do it again, I declared, but this time by going the long way. I looked around at faces of the assembled crowd and quirked an eyebrow. Anyone care to make a wager? Monsieur Fogg refrained from rolling his eyes. I believe, he said, with great deliberation, that tonight I will have supper and go to bed. Come, Passepartout, it grows late. Yes, Monsieur Fogg, I said, and followed. Your journey around the world is complete. There we go. We made it. Day 54. So, the reason for the North Pole journey, by the way, is to make the way around the world in 40 days, which I think there is an achievement for. For that, you have to do the whole trip around the North Pole, and then you have to go through Iceland and have enough funds, instead of going to Calgary like we did. So yeah. You'll be breaking the law. Wow, that's okay. Sounds grim. Anyways, let's get the summary. Fogg returns with time to spare. Journey completed in 54 days despite the sheer size of the world, Reykjavik diversion, and near fatal polar expedition. So we only visited 11 places, because we took the northern shortcut. And mostly by air. And we made money. Quite a bit of it, actually. Yeah, we can barely see our journey because it was so far north this time around. Our manner is collected, valeting is remarkable. Comfortable relations with Fogg. I think that's a great success. So of course, what we're gonna do, we're gonna try again. And this time, as they suggested, we're going to go the long way. So, continue. We are now on a new game seed, because we completed our journey. We're now on game seed number 4. I don't recall anything specific about game seed number 4. So, I think we're just gonna see where the resources we have take us. Because some of our items will be more valuable in certain locations. Anyways, let's begin. And let's try again. My master returned home from the Reform Club with a strange gleam in his eye. Passepartout, said he, we are going around the world. Pack my evening jacket. There is not a moment to waste. Okay, let's quickly check our box. We can still go to Cambridge, but we're going to go to London this time. Russian train tables, let's take those. English poetry, sounds good. He wanted his evening jacket. Let's bring the tobacco. Valuable in Munich. Okay, that's fine. Oh, there's a train from Tromsø and... okay, yeah, all the Russian train tables. Look at that. I think we might have a journey to set out for us if we can get up to that place. It's a lot of trains. Oh, good lord. That gave us a lot of routes. Anyways, let's depart for Paris. Embark. Let's go right immediately. Anyways, we leapt aboard the 8:25 from Charing Cross as the final whistle shrieked its warning. Our journey had begun. So, some of these bits might be a little bit familiar now since we're crossing our paths from yesterday. But I'm gonna read them anyways. Anyways, we're not... Oh, we're still gonna meet Verne. Okay, fine. Let's talk about Paris. Paris to Zurich. Quite impossible. This is of course a wager. Talk more about Paris. Paris to Nice. Paris to Nice to... Oh, good lord. I know this doesn't go anywhere, but so be it. Talk about Paris again. To Dubrovnik. Bloemfontein. Fine. So we're gonna route south, but if I'm gonna connect with the Russian train tables, we'll have to travel through Germany, I think. Have to get up that way. The Amphitrite Express rattled along narrow gauge rails to Dover, where its fins extended and it plunged directly into the channel. Monsieur Fogg made no remark as the dark water pressed against our windows. I thought it so marvelous at the time, but how many marvels were still to come? Then from outside our cabin door, I heard a cry. Oh! Another path is opening up here, by the way. Oh, good lord. Where do I have to go for that one? That one takes us to South America at some point. I don't remember exactly what I have to do, though. You have to go through India and then South America, I think. Anyways, I will see what we do. A change of hats, won't it? You know... In celebration of going through the North Pole and surviving. There we go. Let's use the Santa hat. In celebration of going through the North Pole and living on the last attempt. Anyways, let's try this. I opened the door to investigate. Monsieur Fogg nodded just a fraction, evidently approving, though not feeling the need to undertake any similar action himself. In the corridor outside our compartment, I found a young man with a dapper haircut and brightly colored waistcoat pacing about in a state of some alarm. Can I assist you, monsieur? I inquired, somewhat puzzled by his state of agitation. You're not a thief, are you? The man retorted sharply. Certainly not, monsieur. No? Well, I can't say I'm surprised. I would have noticed if you had taken it, I'm sure. The man turned away and began looking around once more, quite hopelessly. You have been robbed. My silver-plated cigarette case, the man moaned. It's worth a reasonable amount of money, certainly, but what I can't understand is how it disappeared. I was in my compartment, I took out a cigarette and put the case on the table, and the next moment it was gone. Have you looked on the floor? Do you take me for an imbecile? Of course I have. And you were quite alone? Yes, well, except for the lady, but she can hardly have just walked off with it, can she? And what lady was that, monsieur? I asked, beginning to think that this man was indeed an imbecile after all. Damn it all, I don't know, he exclaimed. The young lady sharing the compartment. She went off a few minutes ago. I coughed gently. Then I suggest you have your culprit. The man appeared visibly shaken. That's quite an accusation, he retorted. Although, by God, I suppose you're right, but I can hardly accuse her, can I? I will look for her, I suggested sensibly. The young man brightened a little. Would you? That would be awfully decent of you, though I'm not sure how you'd know her when you saw her, of course. It chewed his whiskers for a moment. Perhaps you'll be able to smell the guilt on her. They say that happens. I doubt it, monsieur, but I will try. Very good. She'll have guilty eyes, no doubt. Check the eyes. I hunted the corridors, but while I found several passengers and some ladies amongst them, none had the aspect or manner which suggested a thief. But let it not be said I am not dedicated. And when I say I will do something, then I do it. That said, however, I do not always succeed in my endeavors. Despite hunting amongst high class and low, I found nothing. The lady in question had blended away quite seamlessly, and I could not rout her. I returned with bad news to the young man, who was glum, but not surprised. A master of disguise, no doubt, he complained. Clearly a higher class of thief. I left the man to his sighing and moaning, and returned to my compartment. Monsieur Fogg looked up briefly, as though to ascertain that the status quo of master and man had been restored, before disappearing into the folds of his paper once more. I'm not sure I made the right choices there. But anyways, when you have that event, there's a chance of romance again. For Fogg this time around. But it requires a few specific things. We'll see. We splashed up onto the rails at Calais, and closed the remaining miles to Paris Gare du Nord quickly. As we crossed the bustling concourse towards the exit, I noticed the young man from the train once more. He seemed no calmer than before, and most eager to speak when I caught his eye. Did you find your cigarette case, monsieur? I asked. The man shook his head, but then, as I nodded and began to turn away, he caught my arm, a voice dripping to a whisper. But wait a moment, I must tell someone. I did find something most odd. A clue, monsieur. I suppose you could call it that, yes? So saying, he reached inside his jacket and pulled out a most curious item, no less than a long-stemmed jet-black rose. What do you make of it? He whispered. It was a fine specimen. It was freshly cut, the petals a rich black with an inky luster, a most curious artifact. Suddenly, an aging porter guiding a luggage automaton rounded on us. So it's true, he blurted. She is here. You know what this flower is, monsieur? Talk of the papers, the man replied. Look, he took a copy from a nearby rack and shook it open. London police, baffled as Black Rose thief strikes again. Uh-oh. But who is this Black Rose? I demanded. That's exactly the mystery, replied the porter, cheerfully. No one knows. Some say she is a pauper, a swift one, and others say she's a bored aristocrat. Either way, she's the most successful jewel thief there is. But why would a jewel thief steal a cigarette case? The old man shrugged. I looked to my dejected young friend for answers, but he was reading the newspaper with gathering excitement. Are you saying I've been robbed by a celebrated person? That's wonderful news! Gertrude will be ecstatic! Almost lovingly, he slipped the black rose back into his jacket before skipping away into the crowd. Yeah, it's always fun when you're robbed by a gentleman thief or a gentle lady thief. Isn't that how it goes? Okay, let's quickly check the market. Chateau. Oh, that's valuable in Copenhagen. We want to go to Copenhagen then. Carriages, let's take that as well. Seasickness pills, let's buy. So now I know there's a route to Amsterdam. Oh, look at all the carriages we know about now. Oh. That's a lot of vehicles. That's all the road vehicles in Europe. There are quite a few of them. Wait, is that considered Europe? Apparently. Amsterdam. You can only bring one suitcase. Do Do I care about the exposition? Nah, let's just go. Let's go to Amsterdam. We can hire a second car. See, I could have explored Amsterdam and gotten the whole World's Fair again, I suppose, but it's not necessary, I think. So, I do want to go the northern route. I should have asked you first, actually. I kind of want to go the Trans-Siberian Highway, because I don't remember the entirety of the adventure of the Black Rose. That Black Rose adventure takes you, I think, from here, you have to go to India somewhere, I think Madras, I don't remember, and then you have to go to South America. And I don't remember the exact things you have to do. That's why I don't want to go there, because I don't want to mess up that. Especially not when I had all the train journeys of Russia already set up. We found a member of the Coachmakers Guild to carry us to Amsterdam. She loaded the cases onto the back, stoked the boiler, and took off at high speed along the coastal road, swerving around each corner with considerable skill, and I think a touch of showmanship. I clung on tight. This would be a terrific ride. Let's converse. Greetings, driver. Let's talk about Amsterdam. The canals of Amsterdam are no longer lined with gold. You don't say. Copenhagen? Okay, Copenhagen to... I think Berlin. Okay, good. Berlin to Warsaw, ideally, but I don't think I see a path there. To Prague? Well, we learned one new trip at least. So we do want to go to Copenhagen because I bought that bottle of wine that's very valuable in Copenhagen. That's my short-term destination right now, at least. Once or twice, the metal-rimmed wheels lifted the chassis clear from the road on one side, only to bump down after a chuff and puff more of the engine. We must have topped 40, perhaps even 50 miles an hour. That's what, 80 kilometers per hour? Something like that. A fabulous way to travel. The Polish inventor Bozek, who had first attached a perfectly decent locomotive engine underneath a flimsy wooden crate, was clearly a genius. Okay, such cars were growing in popularity, starting from their use in farmsteads and extending up through the classes. It was said the King of Sweden now drove one, though presumably only to show solidarity with the beleaguered potato farmers. As we rattled along, I spoke to our driver about what lay ahead and learned that you can pick up stopwatches in Copenhagen you can sell for profit in Tromsø. I don't want to go that route again though. Anyways, Amsterdam. And we can't do anything here other than properly plan. Copenhagen, that is tomorrow at 8 AM. That means no markets. That means no markets. That's okay though, I mean there's nothing valuable here. We might go through Prague. I'm gonna keep that out and get that on our person. Yeah, okay. Well, we're gonna go immediately. We're not gonna visit the market here. We don't have time. I have 1 hour. I'm very quick about it. Perhaps. Though the people of Amsterdam move about its canals... Though the people of Amsterdam move about its canal-side streets with a sense of optimism and good cheer, one look at their buildings tell another story. Perhaps 200 years ago this was the center of the world, but these days tulips are no longer considered more valuable than gold. and the importance of Amsterdam is a little faded. I sympathize. Bien sûr, France's own position has been precarious since that debacle with Napoleon. Apparemment, it is a most ill-advised venture to attempt to conquer all of Europe and Russia besides. Why would I walk along the Seine one day, thinking back to our days of lost glory? I approached a street peddler for advice, who greeted me with a cheerful smile beneath a caterpillar-like moustache. We are going around the world, I declared. Aha, he replied. You are like the influenza. The peddler reached into his pocket. Buy an apple? £1. You are like the influenza. Oh, that's mean. Sure, we'll buy the apple. I bought it and took it with a smile. What is the fastest way on from here? I asked. Car, I suppose. The roads are good. The canals used to be better, but now they seem almost out of date, he sighed. It is a curse to be rich in the past. By the time the future rolls around, you are poor again. Maybe you'll be rich again sometime, I remarked, more from sheer optimism than any true conviction. What is the cheapest way out of the city? I asked. He mused. Most likely the hydrofoil heading north to Norway, he shrugged. It is fine enough if you don't mind being jolted about, and it's not exactly going around the world unless you don't mind which way. Is Norway worth visiting? He shrugged and made a vague gesture. I hear the Norwegians are moving underground. Who knows? They have strange ways over there. There was, of course, the route following the canals south, in particular the route towards the Rhine. Though I feared that to end up in Munich after nearly a week of travel would hardly please my hard-driving master. So many choices. All that remained was to choose how best to depart. Wait, are you telling me I can actually go to Munich? Oh my goodness, depart now though. I have 1 hour. Come on, market's open at 7. 6, 7, 8, 9. Market. Athens. I want that, but I can't actually. I don't have room. Okay, fine. Let's just go. Go. Denmark. Copenhagen. Drive now. Embark. Hire extra car. Go. Had to hurry.